This is a long-term goal and something we're just thinking about right now. I don't want to read that. No, I don't want to read that. Really? There's no shot they type that. There's no shot they just type that. Hello everyone, we've seen a lot of conversations around competitive in Overwatch lately. I'd like to take most of this week's director's take to address it, but first let's have a quick hero update. We made several changes to Alari when she was enabled for rank. Most notably, the healing for her pylon was reduced, and her ultimate projectile size was decreased, while it no longer pierces barriers. The pylon's nerf effectively equalized the healing between her pylon and solar rifle. It's I already have a problem with this because what this okay, just this one sentence. This one sentence is they don't understand. They don't understand anything fundamentally. Chat, what is the primary difference between right click with Alari and the pylon? We talk about frequency a lot, right? If you hold down right click, that has a very limited bar in terms of healing output. The pylon, you could be dead back in spawn, come back to a fight, and that pylon has still been there, healing, building you ult charge, helping your team stay up the entire time. It's the fact that this has an infinite duration on the pylon. The fact that they think that it's the same because the numbers they output are the same relative to a short period of time is, I'm not going to say asinine, but I'll politely say delusional. Pre-nerf, the healing pylon accounted for about 62% of her healing. Now that number is 55%. This change also brings her more in line with other damage forward supports. What the hell is a damage forward support? Whereas before, she was outputting healing numbers close to Lifeweaver and Mercy. We're happy with those latest changes and the additional changes made to Captive Sun. I still call it Sunkiss. We're happy with those latest changes and the additional changes made to Captive Sun. We'll continue to monitor damage output and see if anything needs addressing next season. So we're not getting anything until next season for the damage. Okay. Damage is not the problem. The damage is a lot, but it sounds like Capri Sun. I like that too, Sporks. Additionally, we're looking at Roadhog's underperformance and targeting his rework for the mid-season update in Season 7. Alright. Over the past few weeks, more people have been talking about competitive play. Conversations really started to trend following a video from SK. I'd like to join in the conversation. I agree with a lot of what has been said, and I want to share a glimpse into what development team is thinking and the direction that will likely go with competitive in the future. The team has been working on changes to our competitive mode for some time, but moderate to major changes to the mode won't find their way into the game until sometime down the road. I won't be able to address every issue that people are discussing in this piece, but I would like to address some of the major ones. Before I read another word, my opinion on the SK video is that A, she brought up a couple points, but B, she brought up a couple points that either didn't add up, they only favored top 500 players, or C, they're really, really very much ignoring like key points. The biggest issue I had was her talking about how the current card system cannot be explained. I explained it in about 17 seconds with third grade level math. So that right there, that's something I had an issue with. Number two is the highest form of competitive in this game being top 500. The title top 500, meaning the top 500 best players of that region for each rank. Just the name in itself, it is going to be a limited pool of people. This it's what it fucking it's literally called top 500. It's 500 slots. Not 5,000, not 50,000. It's not just a number for funsies. It's quite literally limited to 500 people, accounts. Like, why are you shocked that it's hard to get games? If you're trying to organize something between 500 people, or the other 100,000 people that are playing any of the other ranks and other things. It's just what? To be fair, it's region and roles. It's more. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you can't. If I queue into a game as a top 500 support player, I cannot queue in to every region at the same time on the same role. That's what I'm saying. At is that at any given time when you are queued in, the maximum potential is you in the role you've chosen, and then another person in your same role that is queued with you, or if you're in tank, it's just tank. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so this idea that she had with having tournaments and things like that, where maybe we have set times where people are able to queue in, I think that is an interesting idea. And I kind of like the direction that maybe that could possibly go in. So cool and cool. But the whole card system, that could be explained with third grade level math. It's really not that difficult. Okay, I'd like to join in the conversation. Agree with Lava says. The team has been working on changes to our competitive mode for some time. Did I just read this? We'd like to address the major ones. We'll share more details on specifics as we get closer to releasing the changes. This entire sentence was stall. Good exposure for SK, good for them, but the rest of this paragraph is just stall. Some feedback we've heard about the current system is that you're not pleased with how much information about the match and your progress is hidden from you. Actually, to be fair, the card system does tell you information. It tells you in terms of relative to the rest of the people that have also been playing games, also working on a card, also gotten a rank. You are in this percentile of that bracket. So it is giving you information. It's not the same simplistic numeric value that SR used to be in Overwatch 1, but to be fair, it is giving you value, or it is giving you information. It's just not being perceived as well, because perhaps it's not as simplistic as it could be, used to be, maybe kind of needs to be for the average person, so player. We understand you want to know how the system works, especially regarding how your rating goes up, down, or even changes at all when you get a competitive update, along with trying to figure out how fair a match is at the start of a game. For instance, we've seen players go 5-2 and be demoted at their next competitive update. Many of the reports investigated so far have occurred due to MMR decay. For instance, if you typically play pick DPS, and go a significant amount of time between playing other roles, then MMR decay could kick in between updates for lesser played roles. Since decay is tracked per role, this could pull your rating down far enough to cause the demotion. When players see this happen, they would justifiably assume there was an issue with the system. So now that is very interesting, because if my knowledge serves me correct, if I'm remembering correctly, we were told that the whole decay was being done with, and that's why we no longer had rank decay. So are you meaning to tell me that when we got rid of rank decay, we had MMR decay this entire time? Or was rank decay replaced with MMR decay? Because that means that competitive was even more screwed than we originally thought it was a couple seasons back, like 2-3 seasons ago. And why are you having MMR decay if we... Oh. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Reason you end GM5 and sign a new season M1, which happens. I think DK should be treated a bit more severely in the higher ends. Not like, oh, you reset to 3900 every season, because that was kind of shit for higher elo players. That's just not fair to them. But what I would like to think is that keeping things in top 500, my suggestion was this: in order to be top 500 in any role, number one, you at a minimum need to meet whatever the numerical bar is for GM1, whatever the equivalence of for GM1 is. So you cannot have a Diamond 5 tank player be like, I peaked rank 127 in the tank role this season. I'm like, brother, you're one of 19 people that are playing. I believe that you got to top 500 on tank. No one wants to play tank right now. It's kind of freaking miserable. That's not the same as someone that's been grinding all season long with hundreds of thousands of people fighting for that rating, that ranking, and then they actually earn it. by the end of the season. And something that SK also brought up was the whole beginning of the SR peak, beginning of the season SR peak versus end of the season SR peak. End of season, if you hit like 4,600, that was very, very impressive. Versus beginning of the season, if you were just, I guess, the equivalence of GM1 or GM2 or even top 500, whatever, it's not nearly as impressive. It's the end of the season where everyone has been grinding, clawing for SR the entire time. And then the last closing days where everyone's just like everything in, balls to the wall, like going for new peaks. That's what was really impressive. So I don't think that you should ever have season high is this and it stays there. No. It should be, what do you finish your competitive push on? That number should matter because it's a very big difference. Any person can be, I'm in first place at the beginning of a race, but once the end of the race is there, who crosses the finish line? That's the difference. You don't hand out medals for who starts in what spot. You hand out medals for who finishes. So there's that. Since decay is tracked per roll, this could pull your rating down far enough to cause the demotion. When players see this, they would justifiably assume there's an issue with the system. Okay. Many of the changes that come with our competitive 2.0 update were based on values centered around pulling frustrating moments out of the experience, but came at the cost of obscuring other information. Okay. They're talking about being demotivated by watching your SR go up and down after losses versus wins, but it's still happening. You just don't see it. That's going forward, we're shifting our values to provide more transparency to the mode. This doesn't necessarily mean that the older skill rating measurement is or isn't coming back. Again, not really getting the information from this. As we continue to iterate on the possibilities, we very much appreciate your continued feedback. We want you to have a better understanding of what your true rank is and why wins and losses cause it to move up or down based on the general skill level of all players in a match. I think if they go back to the old SR system, it would be better for everyone involved. People are still going to complain because people complain about anything. They look for anything negative they can fixate on. But if they go back to the old SR system, that is their way of kind of admitting that they were wrong. And I don't think that's ever going to happen. The second they go back to the old SR system, they have to admit that everything they've done for the last 6 seasons and all the prep for the SR system or this new competitive system for the last they have to admit that, yep, we were wrong and we've just wasted everyone's time for the last almost year. And I don't think they're going to admit that. So if we get the old system back, they just admitted that they wasted a year of everyone's time. So I don't think it's going to happen. Which, again, I don't care what the new system is as long as it's good. If it's good, we're fine. Like I'm not saying we have to go back to the old system, but the likelihood that we will, if we do, they're gonna paint it to make it like, oh no, it's not the same thing. It's different because this. It's fine. Additionally, we understand the way we track progress can cause losses to feel more frustrating. Currently, the system will provide a rank update after every 5 wins or 15 losses. After each win, progress is shown on a screen during the end of round flow, but losses are not. When the game doesn't acknowledge the loss, it can feel as though the whole match was a waste of time. We're making changes so that the system will contribute your progress toward a rank update after each match, whether you win or lose, so that no match feels like a complete waste of time. No. You guys know what this is, right? Y'all know what this sounds like? This sounds like okay, y'all ever play Pokemon? Right? And you can shit. Pardon the French, I'm gonna have to bleep that. Y'all ever play Pokemon and you can fight trainers that are near the level of your Pokemon and you gain more EXP, or you can go and you can curb stomp like level 7 Pidgeys in the wild and get little bits of XP bit at a time, but either way, XP is XP and you'll still level up. That's what this sounds like. It's what it's basically telling you is that you have a bar of EXP that you need to fill, and whether or not you are losing and just speed running losses because you are maybe not that good of a player, you're still going to gain progress on that bar. but then wins will grant you more net EXP, which means you'll rank up faster. But then how do we derank? No. Okay, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, but if that's what this is, oh no. So we're making changes so that the system will contribute your progress toward a rank update after each match, whether you win or lose, so that no match feels a complete waste of time. I'm really hoping I misunderstood that. I'm really hoping I'm just I maybe I'm reading it the verbiage. Maybe English is hard, and I'm misunderstanding a word, or I, you know what? I just you know what? I'm not the best at English. It's fine. I'm just misunderstanding. It's okay. We're also talking about the top 500 leaderboard and some of the unique issues for that experience. If you are in the top 500, you are among the most competitive players in the community, and we think there are additional needs and issues that than the rest of the community. I think there's a not really additional, but they have some needs. I think top 500 gets ignored way too much. One example of a unique problem is the difficulty of climbing the top 500 leaderboard later in the season versus playing early in the season. Okay, when it's easier to place higher. I like that. They're acknowledging it. They also have more issues with queue times, grouping with friends, and finding fair matches than the spectrum of skill in this group can still be fairly substantial. Hold on. We also believe that the top 500 experience is a more full featured experience than how other players interact with competitive. Well, it's more competitive. Technically, it's how you're meant to play the game, as in tandem with the team, etc. In theory, not always, but in theory. Competing with and passing other players in the ladder makes the top 500 leaderboard exciting. Excuse me. It's not something that most players get to experience. Eventually, we'd love to find a way for players of other ranks to have an experience in climbing the ranks that feels more granular than just moving in and out of skill tiers. You mean like the numerical SR system that we had for years? Which was like the only thing that really wasn't an issue? The numerical aspect of the SR system wasn't the issue. Most of the people that were complaining about their rank and stuff like that was because, yes, I understand there was some anxiety tied to seeing that number go up and down and not understanding why you got 27 points versus 15 points. But at least it was straight up, simple, just cut, yaw, raw. I can't, no words are happening right now. I'm sorry, my brain is going to melt to chat. It's been like 6 hours, but this is a long term goal and something we are just thinking about right now. I don't want to read that. No, I don't want to read that. Really? There's no shot they type that. There's no shot they just type that. This is a long-term goal and is something we are just thinking about right now. Again, hopefully I'm reading that wrong as I'm reading it as they just now started thinking about it. So hopefully I'm reading that wrong. Again, maybe I'm just tired. Overwatch 2 is always evolving and growing. We'd like for it to be doing that in a way that is exciting for players and in a direction that they would like. One of the best ways to accomplish this is to have a healthy dialogue between players and developers. Some of these competitive changes will be made in the short term, like how we treat MMR decay, but other issues will be handled with broader changes coming early next year. Early next year? Ultimately, we are aiming to make the system more transparent, add more frequent reporting, open up some of our restrictions for grouping at high skill tiers, and look to introduce new competitive rewards. Let's keep the conversation going. We're aiming to make the system more transparent, add more frequent reporting, open up some of our restrictions for grouping at high skill tiers, and look to introduce new competitive rewards. If that order is meant to be written in a certain order of descending urgency, I think I agree with it. But unfortunately, I have more questions now than I had before. The add more frequent reporting. The reason this concerns me is because you have people that get their, well, ass literally handed to them in a ranked game because they're trying to eat Cheetos with their feet with half of their monitor shut off because the pixels are busted, and they get diffed by someone that is on a stronger role, stronger character, or just better than them mechanically. And then they're like, oh, cheating. And then they'll report them. So I really hope that that's not what they're trying to encourage. They wouldn't do that, right? So the frequent reporting, I don't remember anyone in the community saying anything about how the reporting system is or isn't an issue outside of actual cheaters. I don't think that the reporting system needs to be changed at all. Maybe their internal software for detecting different kinds of cheats could be improved upon, but I certainly hope that they're not talking about manual reporting because what? That would be anyway. Open up some of our restrictions for grouping in high skill tiers. I think that's a good idea. I do. I really do. My view is this: if you can do it in plat, you should be allowed to do it in top 500. And if it's absolutely horrible and it's hideous and no one likes it, fine. But they've never even been able to do this. They've never been able to try it. So let's say go for it. If they end up raising it to like, oh, you can now 3 stack. I guess it's a start. That's Kyle, we already went over that. They're not gonna have SR back. If they bring back the exact SR system that we used to have, that is Blizzard's way of admitting that everything they've done for the last year in terms of developing a new competitive numerical king has been a colossal waste of everyone's time and resources and money. And they will never admit that. They will never, ever, 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 ever commit that. Whale comp coming back. I didn't say that, Duddle. But if they bring back the exact same numerical SR system, it is them admitting that everything they've done, every single step towards this card system has been 110% a waste of everyone's time and money, which they will not do. If we get something that's similar to it, they're going to spin it as like, oh no, this is new and fresh and different, which cool, fine. I'll turn the other cheek, I'll look the other way. But if they go back to the old system, they're admitting they did everything wrong. They might gradually bring it back and gaslight us. One could only hope, but we'll see. Thanks for reading. I'll see you in game. All right. Y'all know me. I'm Mr. Positive, but the I'll see you in game, no, because these developers, the highest rated developer is, I think, Plat. So, no. The vast majority of people will see them in game. But the people that you keep screwing the game for, indirectly, is the average player, which is gold and plat. And it's the issue is that they. I'm about to open up a whole can of worms. When you ruin the game or you limit the game for people that play your game at the highest ladder competitively, that has a trickle down effect in terms of how everyone else's mentality is affected. If you have the leaders of a community, right? You have the leaders of a. Aaron doesn't play. When you have the leaders of a community, whether you're talking about the devs or you're talking about the social leaders of a community, whether it be a small streamer like us, a medium-sized streamer like insert name here, or a larger streamer, we'll use SK as an example. When you only play the game from a top 500 perspective, like SK, your viewpoints or in terms of what you see or how you see the game tends to be only applicable from the lens that you are basically seeing the game through. And other people that also see the game through that lens, they tend to relate significantly. Now, we do coaching here, but we coach every single rank. We coach open division players, we coach contenders players, and we coach plats, bronzes, console, PC. We have the pleasure of, we've coached hundreds of people over the last year. So when I tell y'all, I've seen everything. And to think that everyone views this game the same is, I think, a very, very bold, but also entirely delusional way of thinking that this community exists. There is a reason that the majority of the player base is plat and gold, and that is because fundamentally they are doing something wrong. There's something to be said that when you run into people that are in plat and they're convinced that they are playing perfectly and they know how to, quote unquote, I know what I'm doing, I know how to play this game, when there are people that are rank 1 or play this game either semi-pro or pro, and yet they still have to practice and yet they still can improve. Does that make any sense whatsoever? That a plat playing casual feels like they have no more room to improve and that it's their teammates' fault, but yet the people that are playing this game professionally or are paid to stream it at the highest rate of play in the game, they need practice, but the plat player doesn't. Do the rawr. Hey, rotating, welcome, welcome. But that's what I'm getting at. So, speaking through the lens of all the different ranks and all the different people and all the different roles and all the different characters that are chosen in those roles, I will say this. As a business goes, it makes sense to cater to the vast majority of your consumer base, whether it's from the products that you create, the skins that are in the shop, the characters that get changed, buffed, or nerfed. I get it. But in terms of the competitive integrity of a game that at its core is meant to be competitive, the opinions and or the lens of the people at the top of the competitive ladder, the needs and the desires and the perspectives of those individuals should not be ignored, especially not for this many years in a row. So all I'm saying is this. If you make the game fun, it will be just fine for the people that play this game casually, which is the majority of your players from plat and lower. But if you make the game engaging and competitive in terms of giving the players variety, in terms of they don't need to just play one or two characters in each role, because if you play anything else, you're basically throwing. That variety, it stirs a fire. It allows the game to grow, new metas to emerge consistently, new characters to be played, more content to be created, which, yes, obviously helps the content creators, but also encourages and adds a new flow and refreshed take to the IP that is Overwatch as well as Blizzard. But I really think there needs to be a serious conversation of how do we make it fun for the average player and how do we provide a significant amount of competitive variety for people at the highest tiers of play. So I'm not saying I have all the answers. All I'm saying is that, as mentioned, there needs to be a conversation that happens at some point. I would really, really like to see the conversation come down to how can we make this fun for the majority of our consumer base, which is plat and gold players, but how can we still keep some variety in terms of a competitive breath that gets breathed back into top 500 contenders, maybe even a future org that would replace Overwatch League at some point. Because I think the future of Overwatch as an IP would benefit from both. Not just catering to top 500, not just catering to the average plat player. I think balance needs to happen for the highest level of play, but fun can still be found and had for the average level of play. Because whether or not Sojourn is meta that season, the average player is not going to be able to play Sojourn to the point where she's broken how she would be in higher elo. That's just the blunt truth. If you're plat and you play Sojourn and you're not winning every single game and you're not in rank 1 because of the character, it's probably because you don't deserve it yet. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to say skill issue. I don't want to say Sojourn diff, but that's how it is. Make it fun for the average player. Make it competitively variety focused for higher rank. But that's just how I see it.